So glad that you're spending time with me today. In this presentation, I want to take you behind the scenes of how to turn streams into real fans for your music. And so, whatever note-taking method you use, definitely get that ready. If you're the type of person who likes to have your camera on, that's totally fine. This is an interactive Zoom, so I'll be looking at you. You can look at me. We'll wave at each other, and there's some interactive elements. The one rule is that just please make sure that your mic is muted because this is going to be recorded for a replay because there are some artists that just couldn't make it live today. So just keep an eye on that. And today I'm going to just break down what's been working for our clients when we create content, run ads, land playlists. And all of this is just based on 10 years working and refining this strategy. And this is the strategy that I'm going to share with you today. Okay. And the good thing is that this works for any artist, any genre. It's predictable, it's real, and it's long lasting. And my hope is that you can adapt a thing or two from my strategy and the ones I use with my clients and implement it into your music career. Does that sound good? Type good in the chat and we'll keep going. So, by the end of this workshop, my hope is that you'll know the real way to get more streams and fans. You'll know what you should be optimizing for, and you'll have a simple system that makes growth predictable. All right. What you're about to discover is the exact system that allows us to grow our client streams and fans by thousands every month consistently over the years, year after year. And I call this system the predictable exposure system. And this will be great if you're just starting from scratch with your music. Honestly, this is probably the best way that you can start. But also, if you're already promoting your music and you already have a bunch of releases, you'll get a lot out of this too, probably even more so because you can apply it to a variety of songs. And 9 times out of 10, when an artist tells me that they're promoting but not seeing results, it's because they don't have any system or plan that they're operating out of. In fact, they're probably operating out of another system, which is the I'll do whatever comes to mind and I hope that it randomly works. It's really a bad habit rather than a system. But it's a natural place to start because marketing needs to be learned. We don't just pop out of the womb understanding how to promote automatically. We have to learn these systems and install them into our music career, just like how we have to learn to play music. And so that's why it's so important to shift from random mode to shift from, oh, I'll just kind of copy whatever someone said on a random YouTube video or what I saw, in an Instagram reel, just like these little bite-sized hacks, right? That's really different from a system that you follow. And I believe that random strategy just leads to false hope because randomly getting more streams and views for your music at the end of the day isn't repeatable. And even if you do have a bit of success, you're just going to anxiously worry about how it's all going to go away because you don't know why it worked to begin with. And here's what's interesting. There's good news to give you hope. This random problem is easily solvable only if you understand one very important truth. And it's that building a music fan base has nothing to do with getting a lot of streams or going viral, because it's actually possible to grow all of your metrics, grow your streams, grow your views. You can even grow your followers, but it's still possible to not grow a fan base at all. And you see, there's a difference here, a difference that needs to be understood between chasing the actions people take, which is like streams and views, versus chasing after and seeking after the person themselves. And not understanding that important difference is why most artists get stuck, because they keep going after the action and they wonder why they don't have the people. And then you get stuck to the point of burnout eventually, right? Most artists, they'll get burnt out when they try to start growing. because they're just trying to get streams. They distribute, but it doesn't happen, or they just try to get views, so they post and then no views, and then they just release again, and there's no change, and it's a cycle that keeps you exactly in the same place. Every release feels like you're starting from zero again. 90% of your listeners end up being from your friends and family who know you, right? Because you're not chasing after new people. And you truly, you know, deep down that you don't have a real fan base yet, because your family members, your aunts and your uncles, they don't count. So all of your tracks on Spotify are under 1,000 streams, and you're invisible when you don't want to be. The goal is for your music to be heard, but you're unheard, and no algorithm is going to help you. In fact, the algorithms on Instagram and Spotify are most likely hurting you, because an algorithm is just simply a reflection of the actions that your fans take, right? And so if you just take one thing from this presentation today, I know I would have done my job. I want you to understand that talent doesn't drive your visibility. Let me say that again. Talent doesn't drive your visibility, because letting your music just speak for itself doesn't work if the room is empty. And just because you're staying busy, just because you're working on music, releasing constantly, maybe you're posting a lot on social media and you feel really busy, that doesn't necessarily mean you're growing. There could be a disconnect. And that's why I want you to know that you're in the right place. Okay. And my promise, honestly, is that I need to prove to you that I understand the indie artist problem, and I do. Um, and if you're feeling any of these things, like my music's good enough, you know, I know it's good enough, but nobody's finding it, or Spotify and Instagram aren't showing my stuff to people. Maybe you feel like you just don't know what to do after you release a song, or all the marketing that you've tried in the past has gone to waste. Maybe you just feel like you're behind, right? If that's the case, if you ever thought any of those things, I want you to know that it's not your it's not your fault. It's not your music that's failing you, okay? Because your music's probably good enough. It's your lack of exposure system that's failing you. And a lot of artists focus constantly on making their music better, which is a great endeavor. It really is. As a musician myself, you know, I'll share a little bit about my musical journey in a bit, but I know that good music is required, but that's not the same thing as getting your music in front of more people effectively, right? I lived this. I went to college, right? I got a music degree because I wanted to become a better musician. And I thought that it would make a big difference, right? If I was a better musician, more people will notice. In fact, this is a photo of me when I was around 17 or 18 years old. I use that guitar still to this day to record some pretty incredible music. But more importantly, other people consistently confirmed that the music I was making was some of their favorite music. And that's a great feeling. Let me know in the chat if someone's told you that your music is incredible and it deserves to be heard by more people, because I'm sure that's been your story, right? And on Spotify, if we all go to our own Spotify profiles right now, that probably doesn't match what people are telling you in the real world, right? And that was how it was for me. On Spotify, I had nothing to show for the practice, the hard work, all of the hours recording, the people who are telling me in person that they love my music. Spotify was the exact opposite. And no matter what I did, I couldn't get my music in front of the people who I knew would love it. So basically, I just kept making songs without that system. And I didn't know that I needed a new system. But thankfully, if you went to my Spotify today, and I only have 3 songs out so far, but I have over 1 million streams across my small catalog. And Spotify does share my music with new people every single day for free. In fact, it's a few thousand new people every single month that are checking out my Spotify, but it wasn't always this way. 10 years ago, after graduating from college with that music degree that made me think I was ready to take on the world, that had the whole music thing down. And I was going to dive in because every voice that I was hearing, like every YouTube channel or Reddit thread, heck, maybe even ads, right? Maybe some of you found me from an ad, right? They were all telling me that there was never an easier time to be an independent artist. And so what I took from that is I was like, okay, I grabbed a DistroKid account. I uploaded a 7-track EP that I since had taken down because I was so embarrassed that it didn't get streamed. Right. I spent 2 years writing and recording that EP, and like I wanted the whole world to see it. But when I logged into my Spotify for artists, this is what appeared next to every single song after 2 years of working on that music. And that's when the inescapable truth hit me. Releasing music is easy. Getting that music heard is really hard. And I thought to myself, looking at this less than 1,000 streams, I thought to myself, how come Spotify isn't just showing my music to new people, right? It knows it's new. I know that there's like a release radar or a new music Friday. How come Spotify isn't showing it? My music surely is good enough, right? And I also thought the same thing on Instagram. Like, how come Instagram isn't showing my posts to the people who decided to follow me? Because that wasn't even happening. And with every single, organic post, I sent out there, I saw engagement shrinking because the platform is changing. It's going into this like For You page type of situation where everything is based on, just following the trends and being that influencer, and, certain types of content get rewarded and others don't. And so, it turns out that because of all the stuff and all the changes in the music industry, nobody was seeing my stuff on Spotify, and nobody cared, whether I posted or not, right? And these platforms don't care either, right? Instagram doesn't care whether or not my music is heard. And it took me a long time to figure out that I was truly alone in the music industry. Spotify is not going to help me. Instagram's not going to help me. TikTok's not going to help me. And if I wanted to get my music heard, I could only rely on myself. And, once I realized that, I was so defeated that I ended up quitting music altogether for a season. And I thought that it just wasn't going to happen for me. That's why I took my 7-track EP down, right? And I changed my branding and everything, right? Because at this moment, I had a mountain of data to back up my case. And looking back, like, I'm not saying that you should do what I did and take a break from music, but looking back at my story now, this actually set me on a path that revealed the answer to my music growth problems. Like during that hiatus, I stopped doing music, I stopped performing. I was working odd jobs, first as a barista at Starbucks, then as a video editor at a surgery center. That was a really gross job. And at the time, I thought, I just lost the music game. And I was just jumping around job to job, whatever could give me money. But looking back, what really happened is God had me on this orchestrated journey that led to a strange opportunity to be one of the founding members of a new e-commerce startup company. It's because of the video editing job that I was starting to work on some websites, and they needed someone who knew how to build a website and also could do a little bit of video. And so, like, I'd never sold things online at this point. And I don't think I really deserved to be there. They just needed someone who could do both of those things. But I eventually became the go-to person on the team for everything: website, marketing, copywriting, advertising, photography, videography, email list management. They had me doing all of it because it was only a 3-person team at the time. And they even had me working in packaging and shipping of all of the products they shipped all over the nation. And what I really got was a crash course in how to become a profitable brand online. And I thought to myself, this is exactly what I was missing as a musician. My music degree, like I'm glad I did it, but it gave me an education in creativity. Now I had the missing piece, which was marketing. And because of that, if you opened my Spotify for artists today, you wouldn't see that less than 1,000 streams anymore, right? Instead, you'll see over 1 million streams, like I showed you. And it's honestly not because of my music getting that much better. Like, of course, some years passed, and practice is always great, but I'm largely the same musician. And honestly, I didn't think this kind of change was possible. Like these songs are, like the newest things I've created, and I've spent the last year building a brand new studio, and I'm finally creating for an audience of listeners that are listening and enjoying my music. And I just want to share with you guys that you can get here too if you promote correctly. Okay. It's the simple law of outcomes. You can solve everything by achieving those different outcomes. And this change doesn't come from your music getting better. This change comes from you changing your actions. And that's why I keep saying this word system, but the story is just to prove to you guys that the system helps guide what actions you take on a daily basis. And that's how you get different outcomes. And I've helped many artists achieve those different outcomes for their music careers. And funny enough, it goes against like the surface level advice that you actually hear from TikTok or YouTube or those gurus in the Instagram reels, right? Because you don't have to go viral. You don't need to pretend to be someone that you're not. In fact, if I told you that copying the strategy of a big artist was the worst way to grow, you probably wouldn't believe me at first. But if you do that, you're not being true to your own artistic vision. And instead, you could be just quietly building a fan base that actually connects with you. And that's the better way to do it. And not just connect with you, but goes to your concerts and purchases your products and shares your music with their friends. Wouldn't that be a much better fit for your music lifestyle? If you do like the sound of that, just type yes in the chat to make sure that I'm on the same page with what you want. Like if what I said is along the right lines of your dream, I just want to make sure. Yes, from Don. Yeah, John says yes. Yes. Okay, awesome, guys. And so I just want to let you know that I'm going to show you exactly what I did. I did this for my music. I did this, for my clients. I was able to replicate it. Here's a little bit of proof. This is just to show you that I'm not just a one-off success story that happened because I was lucky or special, right? I was able to recreate a system of growth for my clients as well. And what we did is we took a predictable path, right? And most people instead, and this is by default, it's not their fault. Maybe this is just what the industry kind of defaults to, but most people focus on, creating their music, but leaving the discovery up to random luck, like posting on Instagram, and hoping that Instagram will just go viral or whatever, right? But instead, you could focus on growth strategies that put awareness within your control, right? If you're here in this class, luck probably hasn't worked out for you yet. And that's what the predictable exposure system is all about. And so I'm going to show you that on the next page. This would be what you should screenshot today, just so you know the whole overview. This is the predictable exposure system, because if you can turn on traffic, that means you can grow on demand. Okay. And so what I'm going to show you today is the 3 steps to the predictable exposure systems. First, we want to activate what I call traffic icebreakers. Okay. This is when you lead with your music. I believe in growing a music audience with your music, no tricks, no like viral hacks that have nothing to do with you. Next, we want to stack something called traffic arms. And this is through using multiple platforms, multiple traffic sources like playlists and ads. And then third, we want to convert exposure into fans through an upgrade experience, right? We don't want it to be a one-dimensional artist that's only offering one thing. We want to upgrade people. So first, let's talk about traffic icebreakers, okay? And I'll define it first. What is a traffic icebreaker? Well, a traffic icebreaker, it's your music. It's songs or content pieces that make it easy for new listeners to discover you and to say yes quickly. And the most important thing about this is that you are getting on camera, you're demonstrating and sharing your song. And you can see like these are some screen grabs from some that I've put out there. This one at the top, let me turn my cursor on so you can see. This one here at the top is, me, doing some kind of cool cinematic lighting. This one is just me performing with my acoustic guitar. And then this one down here, my head is cut off, but it's really to show you that there's a bunch of instruments in the room because I was doing a cool looping video. And the idea is that you just want to lead with the most impressive version of yourself, whatever that might be. Now, it could just be demonstrating your voice, or it could be looping like how I did, or it could be just as simple as like looking really awesome and being a great musician, right? But I'll tell you what traffic icebreakers are not. This is not simply uploading your music to streaming services and waiting for something to happen. Okay. It's not just getting that DistroKid account and hoping for the best, right? What traffic icebreakers really is using social media platforms for sharing your vision as an artist, right? So if you're, making music and you want a fan base, hopefully you have an idea, and maybe this is what you would say is your dream, right? Of what everything would look like if things were going well, right? What does your social media look like? What kind of content are you making? What are people commenting below your videos and saying about you? What are they saying? Oh, I can't wait until you do this next. I can't wait for this song next. That's your vision. It hasn't happened yet, but if you can imagine it, you can create it right now. And second, you want to find a visual context, which is basically a video for your songs to live in, right? So that's what streaming platforms are missing. If you just upload your song to Spotify, right, there's no visual context, and the Spotify options are not that great. Sure, you can upload a canvas, but I won't dig into that, but they're already streaming your music if they see your canvas, right? So it's like a chicken and the egg scenario. It's like I have a video, but they've already discovered me. So that video is really not needed, right? So that's why the visual context on social media is so important to understand. And lastly, you're performing your songs for your future fans in these traffic icebreakers, okay? So here's the thing that you need to understand about this. It doesn't matter how you do it, whether it's through organic posting, through paid ads, which is pictured right here, right? This is like an ad that I set up in Meta Business Manager, which is just like a really fancy post with extra options. Or you can do collabs with other artists and borrow their Instagram following or whatever. No matter how you do the result is that you need to give fans the chance to make a decision about you at the end of the day. That's why we want them to see you perform. We want to give them that visual so that they can mentally go, okay, I'm deciding if I'm in or out right now. And so I've been talking about fans a lot. Some of you might be thinking, oh yeah, my social media followers, they're my fans. Or the people that actually come out to my shows, those are my fans. But the definition of fan is like kind of different for everyone. I want to get like this solidified for all of us, right? So, what is a fan? This is going to help with this strategy so we know what we're shooting for. But a fan is not streams, it's not likes, it's not comments, it's not views, okay? Because those are all the things that both fans and non-fans can do, okay? So what is a fan? A fan is someone who's traveling through your brand journey and would actually notice if you disappeared. That's what a fan is, right? They recognize your name, they repeatedly take action when you ask them to, and this is huge. Also in regular communication with you, right? With your marketing. That's what communication is, marketing, right? And so they're on a journey with you. What is that journey? Well, it looks something like this. It's called the fan journey. It starts with streams, right? Streams can lead to new fans, but it goes so much further than that. Then you want to nurture those fans. And the ultimate form of nurture, the thing that we all want, right, is sales, right? We want them to purchase from us concert tickets, t shirts, right? Maybe we have a Patreon membership or we have a VIP membership on our website, whatever it is, vinyl prints, right? This is the ultimate business plan for your music, the fan journey. And I'm not going to go too much in depth, but I did want to give you some definitions to screenshot. So go ahead and like screenshot this or do whatever you want. But here's the thing. If you focus on streams only, you'll never grow your fan base. But if you're focusing on gathering fans, the streams will come as a byproduct of great relationship building. Okay. Because there's so much more than just getting streams if you want to take people on the full fan journey. So go ahead and take a screenshot of this really quick. And here on the next slide, this is going from fan to customer, right? And we all want, income. We all want to monetize our fan base, but income doesn't automatically come simply because you have a following, right? Your brand must be engaging with your audience and you must be planning worthwhile initiatives that activate your fan base. And then they respond by buying your stuff. And yeah, I can go back to the last slide really quick. So screenshot that really quick. Right. So you're not going to make any income just from having the fans. You need to nurture and activate them. And I'm going to move on to the next slide. Nurturing and activating them. That's the second half of this fan journey, right? So it all starts with traffic. Yes. Because before someone can stream, before someone can give you their contact information, right? Before someone can become nurtured, before someone can even become aware of your events and your initiatives, you need to generate the traffic first. And this is huge because we focus so much on the beginning, but it doesn't end there. And so this is why I want you to take them all the way through the journey that you've prepared for them as a brand, right? Because a stream, what's the definition of a stream? It's just someone listening to your music for 30 seconds or more. That's a really legitimate first step, but it doesn't end there, which is why I want to introduce you next to traffic arms. Okay, this is the second step in the predictable exposure system, right? Not all traffic is the same. The biggest mistake I see is that artists spend years building engagement, gathering traffic on a platform, maybe it's TikTok, maybe it's Instagram, only to have to try to convert them later again, right? They realize, oh, well, what I really need is people to know about my concerts, right? So you have to try to like reactivate an old Instagram following or something like that. And here's a really important truth to understand. Traffic type is tied to the experience and the location of where those people are hanging out, right? Experience and location. It's like, what are they getting on your Instagram? right? If you want streams on Spotify, right? The best kind of traffic is to promote on Spotify. If you want followers on Instagram, the best way to promote is directly on Instagram. Now, if you want buyers on your website, that's completely different, right? It takes a different kind of traffic to get buyers on your website compared to streams on your Spotify, right? Experience and location. And most artists are optimizing for the wrong thing. Those different traffic paths, they lead to different outcomes from that traffic. For example, getting on a playlist or going viral on social media is not the same as running meta ads or nurturing a mailing list of fans that have actively subscribed to you, right? Different traffic paths lead to different outcomes. And the reason for these differences has a lot to do with the difference of owning an audience versus borrowing an audience. And so these are the three traffic arms that I think are most applicable for musical artists like us, right? And most artists, they grow with just using one, but predictable growth comes from stacking all three of them. And you can take a screenshot of this slide. There's a lot on it. But I'll go through that. First is Spotify playlists. Like this is a form of influencer marketing where you borrow an existing listener pool to trigger discovery signals on Spotify, and you can trigger the algorithm and stuff like that. This is definitely the fastest way to generate in-platform discovery, especially without filming videos. So this is where a lot of artists start because you don't have to get on camera. But this is borrowing an audience. And I told you there's two ways you can borrow an audience or you can own an audience. So next is algorithmic traffic, algorithm traffic. This is, performance-based exposure. Usually this is activated through Instagram or activated on Spotify, right? And the more signals that you activate, the more reach you can get. And this is the lowest cost because usually you can just post on Instagram and you try to activate the organic algorithm. So, like, posting is technically free. You're paying with your time, though, and it's not as reliable. The third traffic arm is paid ads content, right? So, this is paid traffic through like Meta Business Manager. You can run ads on your Instagram or run ads on Facebook. And because you're using the ads platform, you get to decide how much exposure you want. And this is the fastest way to create predictable discovery at volume because you don't have to wait for an algorithm to activate. You just activate it right away in Ads Manager. And all three are great. But remember this, getting streams is not the same as getting fans, right? So out of all the streams that you get in like a streaming campaign, for example, only a small fraction will decide to follow or subscribe. So that means if you ever want to perform live, sell products, build a community, announce a new album, survey your people, like what t-shirt should I make next? Share a crowdfunding link or launch a membership or a Patreon. That means you'll need something more. You'll need a reliable way to communicate with your listeners rather than just only focus on getting them to stream. Okay. That's huge. And remember this, right? The fan journey, right? Your fan journey really has one goal at the end, all the traffic that you're pushing people through. And that goal is to get as many people here as you possibly can inside this golden zone, right? It crosses what I call the carryover threshold, right? And I'll define that the carryover threshold is the point where it no longer feels like starting over from scratch from release to release. And that's huge, right? If you're only focusing on streams in the beginning, and maybe some of those people are deciding to become fans, but then the natural thing happens, right? They kind of forget about you. They, end up listening to other music, right? The algorithms fall out of favor. So crossing that carryover threshold, right? Getting them into the nurtured fan category, that's how you get a growing listener base across your releases. So here's what it looks like logistically, right? Your traffic portfolio, right, of all your traffic arms. So that'd be playlists, organic posting, your ads, right? It all provides meaningful icebreakers to a large audience every week, right? Next, consistent exposure creates that familiarity and recognition and repeat listening behavior that starts to help with compounding exposure, right? Algorithms get activated, right? People raise their hand and they say yes to more stuff because they've seen you 3 or 4 times now. And then lastly, you build a nurtured audience so that each release has momentum instead of starting from zero. And what's the biggest thing that determines whether or not they're getting nurtured? It's regular communication, like I said before. They're going to have to convert in some way. So this nurtured audience results in a conversion. And the easiest way to think about this is that I've given you my email. I've given you permission to communicate with me. That's all that is. But so many artists don't even have this built into their strategy, yet they're wondering why they're not getting into that golden zone where their fan base is following them from release to release. It's because they're not asking the most important question. Will you follow me in a real way and allow me to nurture you? That's what this is all about. And so conversion, right? Converting exposure into fans is the final thing I'll cover today. Conversion is key because most exposure doesn't lead to nurture fans. In fact, most artists they place zero attention on keeping the fans that they've worked hard for, right? And instead they develop something that I'm calling leaky fans syndrome, right? It's kind of sounds gross, sounds like a medical condition because it kind of is for your music career, right? You work hard on that traffic, you get exposure, you get those initial fans, and then they just leak right out of your fan base. And that's because fans don't hear enough from you, or they didn't go deep into your story enough. And instead of getting nurtured, they just kind of escape out. They lose focus. They follow some other artists, right? Then your fan base shrinks instead of grows. Now, the precursor to leaky fans is actually really easy to diagnose, right? And I diagnose this all the time for my clients. They'll say things to me like, I'm not ready for the second half. Like, I'm just going to focus on the first half of the fan journey right now. And so they just go after streams. They just go after streams over and over again. They never pay attention to that golden zone. And so it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point. Or another thing that they'll say to me is, I'll see if I could get some initial streams first, and then I'll work on nurturing later. Right. So they just kind of kick that important goal just down the road, and it ends up being years before they return to it. And then those are lost years. Right. Or they'll say something like, I just want people to hear my music. Like, I don't even care about them getting to know more about me. Like, I just want them to stream. That's also a mistake because really you're not being honest with the type of experience that you want them to have with you. Right? Most of us want our music to impact people. And so I just want you to avoid leaky fans altogether by attracting and converting at the same time, at all times, right? And so attraction happens in the first phase, right? Getting streams, right? Getting that repeat exposure, activating algorithms, and getting that first time listener to become a fan, right? To enjoy your music and your catalog. And then that second half is another campaign that focuses on nurturing, right? Getting them to join your nurtured audience, and then also creating experiences for them to purchase. And in my opinion, that's just as important, right? Because again, a purchase is just a fan saying, "Hey, I'm the most interested in you." Like this is the highest quality signal that I can send you that I'm into you, I'm into your music, I'm into what you're putting out. And I'm literally going to raise my hand with my wallet to say that I'm probably your best fan, right? That's what a purchase really is. And so to have both, it's really just two steps with two simple systems, right? The first is just to have a system to get a lot of streams, right? Then you'll start familiarizing your music with the group of people, with your sound, right? They get to decide about you. That's the first half of this, right? Get a lot of streams. The second step of this, dual system is to have a system to add people to your mailing list so you'll never need to worry about those listeners forgetting that you exist, right? If you can communicate with them of every new release reliably, because Spotify is not going to do it. Trust me, like Spotify is not going to announce your releases reliably. If you're lucky, they'll do it to a segment of the people who clicked follow, but not everyone. And they're getting so many push notifications from Spotify from all of the other artists that they follow that who knows if they're even going to pay attention to push notification from Spotify, right? Having direct control over the communication is the better choice for owning your fan base. And so this is the two step system laid out, right? Two campaigns, one that focuses on attraction and one that focuses on conversion, right? So if you have your attraction campaign set up, they're going to consume your music catalog. And if you have your conversion campaign set up, they're going to subscribe and your email list will grow so that you can nurture an audience and you can sell things to them. And if you do both of these, you'll have thousands of listeners beyond your friends and family. Booking agents won't write you off immediately because your low numbers on Spotify won't exist anymore. You'll stop feeling invisible every time you release a new song because you're getting traffic and streams on that new music. And then you'll stop chasing algorithms at random because you're actually getting reliable traffic on your stuff. Now, if you have your email list growth set up, that means you'll have a growing group of people who actually care about what you're making. And you'll be in control of your income for the first time because there is a direct correlation of email list size and income earning potential. That is true in any business, including ours. And you'll also release music knowing who will hear it instead of just hoping someone hears it. And you'll finally feel like this could turn into a real career for you, not just a hobby, because the list of fans, that is the core list of your business, right? And here's a quick note about subscribers, really quick. You don't want them just from anywhere. Okay, there's something called geo targeting, right? And you can do this using tools like Meta Business Manager, right? Because the closer the fan is to your real world activity, like for example, if you're in Texas and you're performing in Texas, your fans in Texas are more valuable, right? And it goes even beyond that, right? On the city level as well. And 1,000 fans in the wrong places, right? That creates less impact than just 100 fans in the right places, right? So this geo targeting is a really great thing. This is a real world example of just like what it looks like once you get that going. This is a screenshot from one of our clients. And with your list, you can do what's called a list launch, right? You can launch your music to thousands of people at once, right? It's the reliable way to notify people, not just relying on, the Instagram algorithm to hopefully show your stuff, which it never will, or Spotify to hopefully send that push notification, right? So when you do this, You're going to want a global audience for your streams and your social, but you're going to want a geo-targeted audience for your email launch list, for touring and for products, right? Because touring obviously is geographically tied. You have to travel to the venues. And then for products as well, you're going to have to ship those t-shirts, right? Shipping costs increase if you ship overseas, right? I have a client who was like, yeah, I just had to stop shipping to Australia because it's like $60 just to send a couple albums, right? And the it just it didn't work out, right? So it's important. It's really important. Um, so yeah, guys, real quick, I wanted to take a breather just to check in with you. What do you think of the past hour? Would you agree that this has been time well spent so far? If the answer is yes or whatever, just type it in the chat. I want to know how you feeling so far about this. Yeah, John says really insightful. Awesome. Who else is still here with me? I know I just sprayed a lot of stuff at you. Learned a lot. Awesome. Thumbs up. Sweet, sweet. So yeah, I just want to give you a really quick bullet point. Okay. But here's the thing. Um, talent is not going to be the main lever for your visibility. Okay. That was the one thing that I said in the beginning. If there's just one takeaway, it's this, right? Don't rely on your talent and don't rely on like random actions because that just creates random results. Okay. Growth becomes predictable when your traffic becomes predictable. And your exposure only matters if it compounds across releases, right? Remember the leaky fans syndrome? Like you can have all the exposure in the world, but if your fans just leak out and every new release just feels like you're starting from scratch, then your exposure is all for nothing. And so that's why your traffic must be turned into a converted, nurtured audience. And the artists who grow, they're nurturing, not just releasing. Does that make sense, guys? So you know all the steps now. But in our short hour together, I literally only scratched the surface of this strategy completely. It's just impossible to cover everything. Even if I had all day, I couldn't do it. But you now know enough to make some real change in your music. Right? This is more than what most artists realize in 10 years of figuring this out on their own. And we just tackled it in one session. Right? So give yourselves a round of applause for sticking with this. And just, I want to thank you for showing up live. I am going to take some questions at the end. So it's going to be really worth it that you're here. But here's the hard truth. I want to leave you with a couple things, okay? If you leave today and change nothing, nothing will change in your music career, okay? Remember, I said the system helps to inform your daily actions, right? That's why I gave you the system today to know what to optimize for, what's important, and how you're going to lead your fans, right? So you now have two choices because we're about to end this workshop after questions, right? You now have two choices. You can leave this workshop, take your favorite parts of what I said, combine it with what you're already doing based on what you heard from YouTube, and kind of stay in random mode in your growth. Or we can install this traffic system into your music career next week from the ground up so that you can start growing immediately and you can be confident that you're setting it up the right way because we'll be doing it together. Does that sound like something you'd at least want to hear about? Just want to make sure that if you're interested in having some help with this, just type yes in the chat and I'll just share with you how to find out some more information. Max says yes. Tanner says yes. Awesome, guys. Yeah, this will be really quick. Don says yes. Awesome. So it's really simple. There's no course, there's no nothing. I'm sure you guys have been on these things before. I really want to just help you guys. And so this is all I want to just offer you today. Meet with me one on one, and I'll help you identify your next step to massively grow your fan base. Okay. It's that simple. So I want to invite you, and hopefully the images load on this. Yeah, there we go. I want to invite you to a free fan growth strategy session. Try saying that 5 times fast. Go ahead and scan that QR code if that's easier. Otherwise, type in www.growmyfanbase.com. That's going to take you to a page where you can sign up for a free fan growth strategy session with me. And there's limited spots for this. I don't know how many or how fast like the calendar will fill up, but there are days open in my calendar right now, and it's first come first serve. Whoever books the slots, you're going to get a slot, and then once it's closed down for this round. Okay, so if you're interested in that, and you're interested in hearing more about how I would implement the strategy that I just laid out before you today in this workshop, go ahead and book your free time with me. It's completely free, and I would just love to serve you in that way. Um, I would just want to show you just like some of the differences that this can make once you install something like this. This is an artist that we worked with. We 5x the number of streams overnight. Here's another artist who started some Spotify ads. They added that traffic arm to their strategy. They were doing other stuff before, and they just started triggering the Spotify algorithm way more right around here. It's free streams. That's what the Spotify algorithm is. And not only that, but this green line right here, this is returning listeners, and they basically doubled their returning listeners. Same thing with this artist Chris. This green line, right? The repeat listeners. Just look at how many people are coming back and listening to his music again after starting the strategy, right? Here's another client. This is all just algorithmic stream spikes. We filtered out everything else just to show how often Spotify was giving them free streams. Here's another one. The free streams are in there still, but man, what a huge repeat listener base from Alex here. And then if you're starting from scratch, that's absolutely not a problem either, because Danny, he implemented the strategy, and he went from 0 streams to 15,000 in just 2 months. And so I really want to, have you guys see if this is something you can install in your career. All right. And I just want to make sure that you know really quick that this is not for you if you're just looking for like an overnight viral hack. As you saw in the screenshots, this is not buying streams. This is not any of those things where you just kind of like pay money and then you get the number up, right? This is real marketing. And so if you aren't like planning to release music consistently, or you're not prepared to invest like real resources into marketing campaigns to grow your fan base, or heck, even if you're just still in the early stages of your artist project, this is probably not for you, because what I'm talking about is marketing an artist project that's ready to be marketed. Okay. But you are a great fit if you already have music released on Spotify, or you're preparing for like a serious rollout, maybe on your first single or your first album, right? If you're invested in your artist brand, right, and you care about how you look, the visuals, the positioning, the identity, all that stuff, um, this is for you. If you have a budget earmarked specifically for marketing your music, I mean, that's huge, right? Otherwise, random mode is still available. You could still post on Instagram every day and see what happens. But what we're talking about is a strategized marketing campaign here. And you are a great fit if you are ready to build predictable and repeatable fan growth, right? And install a system, right? So I just want you to know that you can grow just like these other independent artists did, and they, had a great time doing it. And so, yeah, here it is. one last time. I don't know how many spots are left on the calendar, even just in the last few slides. It only takes about 2 minutes to book a time. So they could all be gone by now, but I'm not sure. So go ahead and type in www.growmyfanbase.com or scan the QR code to reserve your spot. And I would love to just see you there on that one-on-one call. I'm really looking forward to meeting you. So with that, I'm going to open up this time just for quick questions. I'll be on the call for probably around 10 more minutes or until questions run out. So if you have anything that you want to ask, uh, go ahead and ask it right now. And yeah, I see your question, Don. Let me actually take a drink of water and then I will answer it right away. Don had a fantastic question. It says, does the system apply effectively for artists who are serious about consistently releasing music but do not perform live? Yes, it certainly does. In the reservation form, to get on my calendar, there's a question that basically asks, what kind of artist are you? And for you, I would just select that you're a recording artist. And heck, even there are lots of indie artists that are like social media first, right? They perform basically by performing on social media through their content, and that can carry over into touring later. But there's a few options there that actually it might be really helpful when you book your session to help kind of self-identify. And um, and yeah, but you'll see that performing live is not required um, to grow a fan base at all, because you can have that fan base and decide, how do I want to create for them? What kind of experiences do I want to bring to them? And you might be an artist that's like, hey, I want to bring to them, a VIP experience through Patreon. I want to do lots of album releases and sell vinyls and sell t-shirts, right? Like I always think of a t-shirt as like they're wearing my artist brand, right? They love my music so much and that they believe in my vision as much as I do, so they're going to wear it, right? And you can do that through nurturing a fan base and point them to any kind of experience you want for them. So yes, performing live is not required. You will just have to share your talent effectively somehow. That's always going to be true. So for you, that could look like a variety of other options. But yeah, great question, Don. Well, guys, thanks so much for being here with me today. This will be the last call for questions. I'll be here for around 30 more seconds. So, last call to just type it in. But hey, like, super appreciate you being here. Especially, how many of you guys found me off of like an Instagram or Facebook ad? If that's the case, just say like ad or me in the chat. I'm really curious to know. Um, yeah, IG ad. Yeah, crazy. Yeah. Yeah, IG, IG. Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, awesome. Yeah, no, it's always good when like social media leads to some kind of real, connection like this. It's awesome that we're all live. To everyone else watching the replay, I still love you too. Uh, but it's cool that you guys were able to make it out here. So awesome. Hey, I'll upload this replay and send it out. And then, yeah, like I said earlier, I'm not sure how many slots are left in the calendar. So you replay people, go ahead and check it out. But if they're all booked up, I might work out some kind of waiting list or something so that you can have your chance too when slots open up. So I'll probably do that. Thanks for being here. And yeah, best of luck. I'm looking forward to meeting with so many of you one-on-one. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Don. Thanks, Tanner. Thanks, Max. Thanks, Jasmine. Take care, everyone. See ya.